So you've come to this video because you want to have the answers to the question how to lower my cost per acquisition in the world of paid ads in particular. This is what I'm going to be talking about. So what I'm going to do is answer that question in two main parts, and then I'm going to give you a counter argument to why you actually should not be lowering your cost per acquisition, or at the very least consider that this is not the only goal that you should be looking at. And there's a lot more to the picture, and it's quite often a mistake that I see is people obsessing over this number a bit too much. So let's start with the answer though, because that's why you came to this video. You clicked on my lovely face, probably looking stupid in a thumbnail.
Yes, please.
We're going to split this into two parts. Number one, that is the audience. So this is the targeting side of it. So this is how you cast the net. That's the classic analogy, which I love so much. So how wide is that net? If you're trying to lower your cost per acquisition, you generally want to be tightening that net. So whether that's in Google Ads, maybe you're using lots of broad match or phrase match, or maybe you're doing lots of locations, geographies all around the world. So you could tighten that net, so you could narrow it down to phrase or exact match, or in geographies obviously reduce it down to just your top performing geography areas. In Facebook ads you could be doing similar. You could be doing a more complex combination of interest-based audiences. If you're doing lookalikes, maybe you're doing a 5%, 3% lookalike, you could do a 1% lookalike instead. Generally speaking, just make those audiences smaller, and in terms of smaller, not just randomly smaller, but smaller and tighter into your perfect target customer. If it was LinkedIn ads, that could be putting in more of the filters, so job function or job seniority, etc. So this works for any of these different platforms in a similar way, where you're tightening that audience down, and the tighter that audience is, you should see a lower cost per acquisition. Although I would point out that the pool of people, users that you can get to will be smaller as well, and that's important to remember here. But tightening that audience will lower your cost per acquisition. Number two is the creative. So I'm going to say creative in the broad sense across all paid advertising, and I'll give you a few examples here. But improving on the creative, the story that you're telling to the customer, the experience they have when they experience you as a company. So within Google Ads, that's the responsive search ad, very likely that you're going to be showing to them, or the image that you're going to be showing them, the text underneath it. So improving on that, trying to have interesting, creative copy that stands out ahead of your competitors, and speaking to your customer. What is the pain point that really hits them? Do good A/B testing on this, and you can find those really spectacular types of copy that really hook people, hit their pain point in a different way that makes them click on your ad more than others, and so lowers your cost per acquisition. Other examples would be Facebook ads. Obviously it's very heavily, it's similar with LinkedIn as well, ads, very heavily creative based. So the types of images you're using, the types of videos you're using, the call to actions, all of this different stuff is really, really powerful stuff that can help you lower your cost per acquisition. I will add a third here, which is just generally the systems of paid advertising. So the Google Ads interface. So don't turn on search partners in the display network, or if it's Facebook ads, audience expansion, which is just absolute crap. LinkedIn has a similar kind of audience expansion. So does TikTok. So does so many of them. Amazon ads have that as well. So you want to be avoiding these bad settings, which realistically are just a lot of learning around Google Ads, watching videos like this to try and learn from experts, or hire an expert obviously as your alternative. But this is the third part, I would say, to how to lower your cost per acquisition. But now let's talk about why I think actually you should probably consider this is not necessarily the best goal to be focusing on, even if you just Googled this or searched this on YouTube and found me.
Tell me more, speak comfort to me.
The reason is cost per acquisition. Acquisition does not necessarily mean the amount of money you're making, and which acquisition. So firstly, which acquisition? If you're a SaaS, for example, you're trying to acquire customers, acquisition users often, when they're starting with Google Ads, will set up a free trial conversion, and then they'll be focusing on that as their acquisition. And so they obsess over trying to get cheaper and cheaper cost per acquisition of a free trial. And what does this do? Naturally, Google is trying to get you the cheapest cost per acquisitions. Who would be cheaper to get as a customer? A student or a CEO of a large company? The student. And so if you obsess over cheaper and cheaper cost per acquisition for a free trial and not for the purchase of a package up to your SaaS product, or if you're in e-commerce, if you obsess over clicks, for example, the lower down the funnel, or you focus on the add to basket, maybe you're getting a lot of people that you can easily get to add to basket, but you can't get them to actually buy the product because they just don't have the money. Like maybe you're selling a very expensive product, a very expensive piece of furniture. Maybe there's some people that like to add it to the basket, but they're never the people that buy because they just don't have the money. So being realistic about what kind of conversions you're focused on and the cost per conversion of that is not necessarily the most important thing. Ultimately, what matters is always return on investment. So return on ad spend is obviously further along, but return on investment is the final metric, which is for every pound you spend, how much do you get back? And so you need to make sure that your conversion tracking goes all the way through that funnel, or at the very least as deep as you can get it, using offline conversions very often within Google or LinkedIn or Facebook. You can do this within all of those systems, and this will allow you to have a much smarter focus. Then, if it's reducing your cost per conversion of a purchase, so someone actually buying your service, giving you that money, then yes, reducing your cost per conversion is an amazing idea, and you should obviously focus on that because you're going to be making more and more money efficiently. The other reason not to focus on it is because as long as you are making money, if you try to reduce your cost per conversion, this often still reduces the pool of people you're able to target. So if you say, for example, within the e-commerce space, I need a ROAS of 10 times, well then there's only going to be a very small number of clicks comparative to 2 times ROAS or 4 times ROAS that you can get 10 times ROAS. So if you set that within Google Ads, you'll see your clicks drop off massively and your account campaign will very likely just die because Google can't find many clicks for 10 times ROAS, and so it just kind of sputters and dies. So this is the other really big reason not to obsess over cost per conversion, because you want to just make sure you're profitable and be okay with that level of profit, but then you want to scale that profit. And so if you push it too hard, you just run out of runway. I hope this was of use. This was my ways to reduce cost per conversion, but also pause and think about, is it the right goal for you and your business? I really wish you luck in this. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, then please hit that subscribe because I do these every single week, and then I get to see you in the next one.